A lot of us are really convinced of the potential that we would have if somebody would call it out and notice it. But I found out something about potential. If you've really got it, when it comes time for God to use it to a fuller extent, you won't have to point to it. God will point to you. Elijah wasn't even trying to find Elisha. God just set his GPS and his Google map and said, that's the one. Why are the people that I pay the only ones standing up for that point? It's the kind of stuff I want to say to you so your pastor doesn't have to. If you will do a good enough job plowing, okay? If you will plow faithfully, God will promote. If you will plow, God will promote. If you will plow, God will promote. I gotta believe that's one of the reasons why Jesus picked Peter, because he was washing his nets. And nothing good had happened all night, but he was getting ready to do it again. That's the kind of person God can use. You know what? They didn't thank me. They didn't even have my microphone on, but I'm going to be the best background vocalist. I'm going to stand here and lead somebody into the presence of God, even with dead batteries. It's a spirit. Excellence is not a stage of development. It is a spirit. It's not what you'll do when. And your plows are rusty and you want a promotion? Senior pastor, if what I say next doesn't work for you, correct me later with your staff. But if you are using where you are as a platform to somewhere else and you are not fully committed to the process of that ministry, the best thing you could do after this session is submit your resignation to your pastor, because he needs somebody, she needs somebody who knows how to plow. I want God to give you the grace today and me the grace today, because God knows I need it, because I get way too much attention and there's all people behind the scenes making me look good, whether it's lighting or cameras and all of that, and they don't get thanked for the sermon. But you know what they've done? And you know why they show up? And you know why they plow? They have crucified their need for credit. Maybe that's the best thing that could happen to you at Inside Elevation, that your need for credit would climb up on the cross so that your calling can live from this day forward. And pros do not confuse credit with contribution. Pros are just happy. Hey, what do you need me to do today? Anything, everything, nothing? You want me to have a mop? Or do you want me to have a microphone? And whether it's a mop or a microphone, I'm going to move something with it. If you give me a microphone, I'll move somebody's heart with it. If you give me a mop, I'll move some dirt with it so somebody else can stand in that place. I'm not concerned about the position. I don't care. Yeah, but they didn't even know that I was the one, that it was me. They said it was Tim, and Tim's always late, and they only see Tim because he posts about it on Instagram. I feel like I could live in this point for a little while. I don't want you to miss any breakout sessions, but what good is the practicality going to do you if your heart is not positioned and centered on the purpose God has called you to fulfill, and if it's all about your preference? I mean, you want to be on a winning team, or you want to be the star? Now, before you're quick to answer that, I want to be a part of it. I mean, answer it honestly. Because some of y'all would rather shine in a small space then shrink yourself and be a part of something bigger. Process reveals potential. Leonard Cohen was said to, you know Leonard Cohen, the songwriter, just passed a few months ago, and they said that if you would look at his notebooks, you would see for every verse that he kept, 80 verses that he threw away. Not 80 verse starts, not 80 verse ideas, 80 finished verses. You know what he said? You have to cut the gem to see if it shines. Wow. So it's in the process of doing it and falling short and doing it and falling short and doing it and falling short that you find out what you're made of. When you get to the end of yourself, that is the beginning of God's grace to fulfill your calling. Amateurs never experience this because they don't give themselves to the process if they don't receive enough praise. And they maybe got addicted to somebody clapping for every step when they were 2. Point number 2. Let's see, pros view correction as an investment. And they'll pay for it. That's a pro. A pro will pay for correction. An amateur will make you pay when you correct them. So Jehoash should have been like, 3 more times? Sure. I mean, you want me to try harder? You think I got more in me? Thank you. That's how a pro thinks. Yeah, you're probably right. It probably could have been a smoother transition. Thank you, because I was so caught up in it, I didn't see it. Yeah, thank you. Amateurs, they don't get better because every time somebody tries to correct them, they make it so hard on the person correcting them that eventually that person just concludes it's not even worth it. And so we start to work around you. Pros pay for correction. Amateurs punish those who are trying to invest correction into them. So I teach my staff, I don't know if they believe me. Don't worry when I correct you. Be very afraid when I stop. Because if I stop putting money in the bank of your development, that means I think your branch is about to shut down. So correction is a real compliment. It means that I'm planning on leaving you in this position and I want you to get it right. If you screw it up and I don't say anything, I already got Elisha in the field getting off of his oxen and coming to take your place. So be real scared if I'm silent. Because as long as I'm telling you, hey man, you know, that was bad form. You let them just run right over you. You need to be stronger next time. That means I'm going to have you in this position next time, and I want you to be better for it. But if you're an amateur, you be too touchy. And they'll say something like that. They'll say, hey, well, we could have done that transition. And before they can even finish their sentence, you will be telling them about how Donnie didn't show up because he hurt his back and he was a volunteer. And they did not ask you all that. They were just trying to make you better. And maybe what you should have done instead of telling them about Donnie and his bad back is maybe you should have saw them. I'm just giving you some advice. If you really want God to use you and if you really want to get to a place where you are not dependent on compliments. See, compliments are cheap. Compliments are a dime a dozen. I could walk up to you right now and say something so full of crap about how great you are, it wouldn't mean anything. But the people who take the time with you to say, you know, I know that you are better than that. I watched you on stage. You didn't think it through. You were not clear. If you would have said this, if you would have done that, you could have moved it further. See, that's an investment. That means you see something in me. That means you're planning to use me as a rock and you will build your church on me. Jesus was hard on Peter because he had a plan for Peter, because he saw something in Peter. He had to excavate all the stuff so he'd have something to build on. And God wants to build something on you. But if you're real shaky and you can't take it if they look past you, or you can't take it if they didn't ask you, if you can't take it when they pull you aside, you won't get a chance to be the best campus pastor at Elevation Church. I demoted Larry Bry so hard one time, I thought he'd go back to Shelby and live in a trailer as an alcoholic. You know what he did? He got better. He got better. Feel the spirit of Buzz Williams coming on me. Get better. Touch somebody, say, get better. Get better. Get better. Get better. Get better. Get down to the bottom of what's making you do all this and appreciate the people who think enough of you. If Fed needs a coach, if the greatest of all time would pay to have somebody watch it and tell them, what a gift when somebody says that wasn't your best. What a gift. What a gift. I know the compliment feels better, but I want to get free from my need for it. It's really nice when someone tells you that they like your sermon. It's really nice. Take it. Smell it. Enjoy. I screenshot certain texts that people send me. If they tell me they really like this song or they really like this sermon or whatever, I screenshot it, I saved it. I got it in a file called Nursing Home. In case nobody ever comes to see me, I can just scroll through that stuff. Just planning ahead. Bros plan ahead. But if you got anybody in your life, and please don't think it's your job to do this for your pastor. Okay, don't get this message all flipped around and pervert what I'm trying to say to you and use the principle to your own demise. Wonder why you got fired. If you got anybody in your life who can do it up here and you do it down here, and they tell you your outline was weak, or they tell you that your humor is getting in the way of your insight or your whatever, anything. I asked one preacher that I respect just recently. I asked him a question. It was a good question. I worked for like a month thinking of the question I wanted to ask. Because there's one preacher that I really respect who preaches better than anybody that I know. And I've been thinking about this question because I want it to be developed. You know what he said about my question? He said, your question misses the point. Well, that blessed me. That blessed me. And I sent back a text. It was we would say pissy if it was Tuesday and you weren't here, but it was kind of aggravated text. I said, okay, gotcha. You know how you do when you don't like what they said and you need to respond and you can't leave the bubbles there forever, so you just send something. One of these. I thought about it. I said, he did me the greatest favor. He corrected my question. See, because sometimes I have staff that want to ask me, how do I get to write more songs and this and that? How do you write a good one? That's a better question. How do I get more opportunities? A lot of your questions are revolving around your desire for more opportunity. A real blessing is when somebody checks your motive and gets you to a better question. A lot of times Jesus would not give people answers. That's one of the reasons that they got sick of him, because he was obsessed with correcting their questions. They were not even asking the right thing. Which is why God doesn't really care why you came this week. What you think you need to learn while you're here. He doesn't care. He will bypass what you came asking to answer what you need to know. Pros encourage themselves when they're preaching better than the people are responding. And it took like 10 minutes, and I responded back, and I realized he's right. My question misses the whole point. I was asking a performance-based question, and he was trying to get me to see purpose.